In a small village surrounded by forests, farms, and birdsong, there was a baby born. Her name was Jean. She lived in a small stone house beneath a straw roof. She ran barefoot through a yard full of mud. Jean had something very special, a heart full of kindness, and a quiet kind of courage. By the time she turned 13, Jean had seen a lot. France was torn apart by war. People prayed for peace, but nothing changed. Jean spent her days helping in the fields, feeding the animals, and going to church. Then, one warm summer afternoon, as sunlight poured through the trees, she heard something. Not with her ears, but with her heart.
Jean, be brave. One day, you will save France.
Was that an angel?
After that day, something changed in Jean. She didn't speak of it to many people. After all, who would believe a 13-year-old girl who said she'd spoken with saints and angels? But the voice came again and again. St. Michael, St. Catherine, St. Margaret. They didn't tell her everything. They only whispered.
Have faith. Listen closely. One day, you will lead.
Lead?
She was just a girl. To others, she was nothing more than a farmer's daughter, with muddy shoes and gentle eyes. But Jean knew one thing.
When the time comes, I'll be ready.
And one day, this quiet girl from a quiet village stepped into history with a faith strong enough to shake the world.
If the Lord believes in me, maybe I can believe in myself too.
When Joan turned 17, she heard a voice.
Go to the king. He will help you.
But there was one very small problem. She had no idea how to meet the king. She had barely ever left her village. Now, she was walking through mud and cold wind, crossing enemy territory, to find a prince she had never even seen. Everyone said she was crazy.
A girl?
Going to see the king?
She finally arrived at the castle of Chinon, where the French prince called the Dauphin was staying. People tried to trick her. To test whether she was truly sent by God, they disguised the real Dauphin as a regular man and put another man on the throne. Everyone waited to see what this strange girl from the countryside would do. Joan slowly looked around the room. Her gaze passed over the false king and stopped, and without hesitation, she walked straight toward the real Dauphin, dressed plainly among the crowd, and bowed deeply.
God has sent me to you, noble Dauphin. You are the true heir of France.
The hall became silent, as if even the air held its breath. Even the Dauphin was stunned.
How did you know it was me?
Heaven told me.
The Dauphin was shaken. He called Joan aside and spoke with her in private. And for the first time in a long while, the future king felt hope. Not the kind that came from gold or from generals, but from a 17-year-old girl, wearing muddy boots, carrying fire in her soul. Most people think you need strength to be brave, but Joan proved the opposite. She was brave first, and only then did the world begin to listen. Once upon a time, in the midst of a long and exhausting war, the city of Orleans was under siege. The English army had surrounded the city for months. People were starving, and hope was slowly fading. The commanders of France? They were weary and unsure. The people? Afraid and hungry. The king? He simply watched, too afraid of losing. But then, a girl appeared. She was not a general, not a knight, not someone trained for war. Her name was Joan. She rode in wearing shining armor, on a white horse, carrying a banner that read, Jesus, Mary, and France. The soldiers laughed.
A teenage girl? Leading an army?
She's just a child.
But Joan did not waver. She rode up to the city gates and shouted to the people,
I have come to end this siege. You are not alone. France will rise again.
The next morning, Joan led the charge at the front. Arrows whizzed past her, but she did not stop. She crossed the river, rallied the soldiers, and told them to pray before battle.
She believes we can win.
Then maybe we can.
One by one, they attacked the English strongholds. Every time Joan raised her banner, The French fought more bravely. Even when she was wounded, an arrow in her shoulder, she rose again.
It's not over yet. Forward.
And finally, on the 8th day of battle, the English retreated. The siege was over. Orleans was free. The people cheered, and soldiers wept. One teenage girl, without a single sword in hand, only the belief in her heart, achieved what trained men could not. Joan didn't win because she was the strongest. She won because even when no one else believed, she believed in herself and in what she was meant to do. And sometimes, that kind of belief is powerful enough to change the course of history. She proved that France was not finished. But her mission was not over. She said this:
We must crown the king in Reims. That is the will of heaven.
The city where the coronation would be held, Reims, was right in the middle of enemy territory.
March into enemy land?
They thought it was impossible. But Joan of Arc didn't care what others said. She believed. And belief moves armies. Joan led thousands of soldiers across France, through cities, over rivers, across battlefields. And then something strange happened. As they marched, people came out of their homes, not to fight, but to cheer.
May God's blessing be upon you, Joan of Arc.
Vive Jean! Vive la France!
Cities opened their gates. Soldiers joined her army. Even the king began to follow her. In July 1429, on a golden summer morning, Joan entered the Grand Cathedral of Reims. By her side was the noble Dauphin, Charles. Trumpets rang out, and the air was filled with the scent of candles and roses. The archbishop stepped forward, and the crown was lifted high.
Do you think I am worthy?
Your Majesty, you are chosen.
The crown was placed upon his head, and in that moment, France had a king once more. But in the hearts of the people, the true hero was Joan of Arc. She never wanted power. The journey to Reims was not just about the crown. It was a story about courage, a story about faith. When everyone said, no, one girl said, yes, because sometimes you have to believe before anyone else can see. Some heroes fight with swords. Some heroes lift crowns with faith. She led an army. She liberated a besieged city. She helped crown a king. And she did all of this before she even turned 19. But in 1430, while riding to defend yet another city, Joan of Arc fell from her horse and was captured by the Burgundian forces allied with the English. They didn't see a girl. What they saw was a symbol, and symbols are dangerous. She was handed over to the enemy, not because of what she had done, but because of what she represented. In a cold stone room in Rouen, France, Joan of Arc sat before her inquisitors, priests, nobles, and men of power in long robes. They didn't come to listen to her story. They came to twist her words.
Did you truly hear voices from heaven?
I did, as clearly as I hear yours now.
They called her a heretic, a liar, even a witch. But no matter what they said, Joan never denied who she was.
I was born for this.
And when they realized they couldn't silence her words, they chose to silence her body. On May 30, 1431, she was tied to a wooden stake in the center of the city. As the flames rose, Joan looked to the sky, and with her final breath, she spoke only one word:
Jesus.
25 years later, the very church that had condemned her launched a new investigation. And this time, they listened. They heard from those who had known her: soldiers, villagers, even her former enemies. What they discovered was simple. Joan of Arc had been wrongfully tried. Her name was restored, and the verdict declared unjust. Her memory was no longer one of shame, but of honor. Yet, by then, Joan was long gone. Centuries have passed, but her story has never faded. She became a legend, a hero, a symbol of courage in the face of fear. And in 1920, the girl who heard the voices of angels, the girl who lit a flame in the world, Joan of Arc, was canonized as a Catholic saint. No longer a prisoner, now a protector. Joan of Arc, did not live to see her justice, but because she never wavered, the world finally stood with her. She taught us that to fight for what is right, you don't always need a sword, just a single voice, and the courage to speak it. Truth may burn, but it never disappears. Your support through likes and subscriptions keeps us going.